I think that grief is largely just love with nowhere to go, but I may be wrong. Hi, my name is Caroline Mae Woodson, and you're listening to I May Be Wrong, but in this month, we are going to be talking about themes of being grateful and thankful because obviously it's November, so the best time to do so. And the quote we're going to be talking about today is the highest tribute to the dead is not grief, but gratitude. And that is by Thornton Wilder, and he's the writer of the play Our Town. And my grandma passed away when I was in high school. And I was really close with my grandma. We talked on the phone all the time. I was really lucky. And that was a little tough for me because she had been sick most of my life. She had breast cancer and it kept going away and coming back. But when someone's sick in your life, you never think it's actually going to happen. You get this weird sense of denial that they're going to die. And so it's almost a cognitive dissonance when they do pass away because you're like, of course it's not going to happen now. And how does it happen before? But anyway, when she passed away, I graduated high school shortly after that. My present was my parents got her original engagement ring. The diamond had fallen out years prior, but they got it fitted with her birthstone, which is a sapphire. And so I wear that ring all the time. I used to wear it every single day of my life, but now that I'm at the age where I could be getting married, I don't wear it on that finger all the time anymore because I want the boys to know I'm here and ready to mingle. That's not the only reason, but I used to wear it every single day when I got it for years on my engagement finger because I liked wearing it on the finger that she wore it on. And there's little things that I do to remember her. Like my mom got me for Christmas this beautiful, it's her handwriting. It's a recipe card she had, but it's blown up and it's on a picture frame in my kitchen and it's her recipe for pancakes. And so I love to make her recipes for things, the pancakes, orange cake, any recipe of hers I love to make. That makes me feel like I'm doing something she would have liked. Even when I'm hosting dinner parties, I like to do things she would have done. And that I think is a better way of remembering her than being sad. The sadness is a byproduct, I think, of all the love, but using the things, the recipes she made and using it for better and being thankful for all the time I got with her is going to get me a lot further and help me live my life than just living in that sadness, you know? So let's talk about our quote of today. So the highest tribute to the dead is not grief, but gratitude. And like I said, that comes from the writer of Our Town. And Our Town, if you're a theater kid, which some of you must be if you're listening to this and you're friends with me, Our Town is a play. It's kind of a joke in the theater community because everybody does it. All high schools do it. All VHSL programs do cuts from it. Even colleges do it. It's kind of a joke to be like, oh, I've got a production of Our Town to go to because everybody does it. And I think it was a more modern piece that was kind of groundbreaking, you know what I mean, in American theater. But basically it's a 3-act play and it depicts the fictional small American town of Grover's Corners, New Hampshire between 1901 and 1913. And it has minimal set, which is a large reason why it's done because you can do it without budget and a lot of schools don't have budget. And it breaks the fourth wall. The stage manager directly addresses the audience and it talks about life, love, marriage, death. So Our Town, if you see a production of it at your local theater, you ought to go. Somehow I have just escaped by ever being in it and seeing it. I've never seen it. Isn't that crazy? Just kind of funny. So about Thornton Wilder, our author of the day, I've got some fun facts for you. So I had no idea this was true. Thornton Wilder is the only person to have won the Pulitzer Prize for both a novel, The Bridge of San Luis Rey in 1928, and a play, Our Town in 1938, and The Skin of Our Teeth in 1943. So a triple Pulitzer Prize winner, at least in the notes I have written, but in 2 different categories. That's pretty impressive. Good writer. Good writer. Also, Thornton worked with Alfred Hitchcock. The famous director hired Wilder to work on the screenplay for his 1943 thriller, Shadow of a Doubt. So 2 famous, talented dudes in one room making some cool stuff. Also interesting, Thornton served in both world wars. He was a corporal in World War I and later a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Air Force Intelligence Unit during World War II. I do think that having a random experience, not that being in the Army is random, having a very specific, intense something or other in your life does make you a good writer, whether that is being really high up in the Army and having to have all this knowledge of how people think about each other and how the world works. I could see how that could help you be a writer, or if that's even being a school therapist and seeing how kids work, you get into the mind of so many different people and you see the intense social interactions. I could see how these kind of things would make you into a good writer who can see stories and also navigate all these things going on. But in general, I believe that everything you do in life makes you better at everything else. It's kind of like when I took ballet growing up, they'd be like, oh, if you want to get better at tap, take ballet. If you want to get better at hip hop, take jazz. All these things feed into each other. And finally, Thornton played the stage manager, the narrator in the show. He once stepped in for a 1939 production of his own play, Our Town. It'd be kind of weird. I don't know if I'd want to do it. I've only written one play and it's not actually been produced yet. I've just made my friends read it. I don't know if I'd want to step in. I don't know if I'd want to. It's an interesting thing to be, in theory, the writer of a play. You write this thing and then you hand it to the cast and the director. And of course you can tell them your intent, but it's kind of beautiful for you to have written something and then see what other people do with it. I say this all the time, but I don't know if Shakespeare, when he was writing, knew every single image and correlation he was writing down. Of course, I think Shakespeare was a really good writer, brilliant, had a lot of that in the brain, but I also think that sometimes we, when we're reading something, are like, oh my gosh, that's an image. Look, there's water 3 different times. It's all connected. And maybe it is, and maybe that just happened, but I think that's cool. I think that you might write something and not even know what you did, and then these other people will look at it and see the wonderful things. So I think that's a cool thing about being a writer, is you can be like, hey, here's what I did. What do you want to do with it? So yeah. And now the first external source I want to talk about is a TV show that I just finished, and it's so good. It's called Long Story Short. And I had seen on TikTok that I ought to watch this, and I just hadn't. It actually came out in August. I thought it was more recent. But it is a new Netflix show, and it is by the same creator and the writer behind BoJack Horseman, which, as you know, BoJack Horseman changed my life. I love that show so much. I think it's so well written. The callbacks. It is a little content warning wise heavier, BoJack Horseman. There's a lot going on, adult content. However, the writing is spectacular, and the same thing for Long Story Short. So Long Story Short is a new show on Netflix, and it's about a Jewish family and their life. And one of the main things is that they are grieving one of their family members. And so I thought this tied in perfectly. And I'm not going to say much more than that because you don't know who it is when you start the show. But there are ways as the show progresses on that they remember that family member and they bring that person's life into their daily lives in order to better themselves and just keep moving on. And so Long Story Short is a multi-generational Jewish family, the Schwoopers, and it's a non-linear narrative. So you go back and forth in time and back and forth in time. And it goes from the 1950s to present day. I think you should definitely watch it. I mean, of course it's deep, but I think it does a great job talking about this idea that yes, you're gonna be sad and you're gonna be mourning when someone passes away, but you also have to bring that gratitude in. You've got to do something with that sadness. Because sadness, it can just drown you, right? Like it can inundate you and everything, or you can do something with it and move on. Not move on, that sounds bad. You never really move on. If we're being honest, I know all these motivational books want to tell you that you move on after somebody dies. You don't. You don't. It's still there all the time. I still think about my grandma all the time. I just now try and do something with the memory of her, you know? But I really think you should watch it. It's just 10 episodes or 20 minutes each. I saw it was renewed for a second season. I hope that is true. You can definitely get through it in a week. I'm probably shorter, but I was so excited to be able to talk about this show because I told all my friends, I was like, you guys should absolutely watch it. I need somebody to talk about it with. It's so good. It's so funny. I think the animation is really pretty and cool. It's very different, so it's worth a watch. Next up, I want to talk about WandaVision, which came out in 2021. And the quote that aligned with our quote of the day is, what is grief if not love persevering? And I think that's so true. It makes me think about a friend I had in college. Her brother died unexpectedly, and she would say a lot, what made her feel better is that grief is love with nowhere to go, like we said at the beginning. And I think this is the same thing. What is grief if not love persevering? Being sad makes you realize there was something worth missing All of this, it's worth something. It comes from something. And WandaVision is about a superhero couple, and they live in this American perfect sitcom life. They live in Westview, and it's just a play on classic sitcoms. And it also is largely about grief and death. I don't want to say more than that as to not spoil anything, but for my film class in college, I had to watch something I hadn't watched and take notes on the directing of it. And I did WandaVision, the first episode. I think it's really interesting to watch and to think about how grief plays into it as you watch the whole series and you find out exactly what the heck is going on. They do a great job of not explaining everything until they need to. And it is an interesting way to think about grief and the extent we go to avoid that grief. I've had a lot of people in my life tell me that they're really worried about me burning out. And they're worried. They're like, Caroline, you're doing too much. You're not gonna be able to sustain this forever. But I don't know if people realize I am busy all the time, because when I'm alone, I can't stand it. Like, I will go to any extent to not be alone. I will have dinner with a different friend every single night of the week because I love my friends and I want to see them. But also, I'm just a people person. I need to be around people. I need to be doing things. I will produce a show and write a show and direct a show at the same time. I will act in a show and take on more responsibilities at my job. I will do everything at once because that is the extent I need to go to be who I am. And I think we can also go to those crazy extents to avoid certain things. So for me, I'm doing that to avoid being alone. But also if I'm sad or something like that, I will go to any extent to not be sad, right? And so there are these crazy things people will do in their mourning to get over that. And sometimes they're bad, non-reversible things, like getting married right when somebody you love passes away. Never a good idea, everybody. Never a good idea. And you know, psychologically, they say that men are more likely to remarry haphazardly because men have a harder time being alone. And I think, according to my interpersonal psychology textbook I read in college, they say it's because women have deeper communities potentially and just deeper relationships. I think it's kind of like, you know, dudes have a lot of friends, but they don't really know that much about their friends. Oftentimes, I'm like, oh my gosh, your friend broke up with his girlfriend. Like, did he say why? The answer is always no. And so anyway, I think that in order to avoid grief, we can go to a lot of crazy things. We can do a lot of crazy things just to avoid that feeling. But I agree. I think that grief is just another manifestation of love. Okay, so the final external source I wanted to talk about today is a song, and that is The Luckiest by Ben Folds. As always, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I will link the song here. If not, you ought to go and listen to it. My readings are not necessarily inspiring, but these are the lyrics, and then we'll chat through it. I don't get many things right the first time. In fact, I am told that a lot. Now, I know all the wrong turns, the stumbles and falls brought me here. And where was I before the day that I first saw your lovely face? Now I see it every day, and I know that I am the luckiest. What if I had been born 50 years before you in a house on the street where you live? Maybe I'd be outside as you passed on your bike. Would I know? And in a wide sea of eyes, I see one pair that I recognize, and I know that I am the luckiest. I love you more than I have ever found a way to say to you. And next door, there's an old man who lived to his 90s and one day passed away in his sleep. And his wife stayed for a couple of days and then passed away. I'm sorry, I know that's a strange way to tell you that I know we belong, that I know I am the luckiest. I think that's a beautiful love song. I think Ben Folds, we've talked about him before, but he's an amazing lyricist. So if you're looking for well-written songs that have narrative and a story, he's your guy. Killer on a piano. I like the older stuff better, but I wanted to talk about that today, bringing it back to our central quote, which, just because we've been talking a lot, if you forgot, our central quote is, "The highest tribute to the dead is not grief, but gratitude." And I know this song is to a living person, right? The luckiest. I'm the luckiest I have you in my life. And the kind of gratitude in the love song, I don't think is something we normally get. I think a lot of love songs are like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You're so sweet. You're so beautiful. Your eyes are white like snow. Your hair is golden like gold. You know what I mean? Or the sexy time ones where it's like, your body is like whatever. You know, I think there are a lot of songs that are ooey gooey or a little like ooh, but I don't know if we get a lot of love songs that are gratitude based. And I think that gratitude should be something we all should practice more. You know, I think we all should do it more. And I will say, I grew up in Virginia. I live in a little bit of a different part of Virginia now. But I was taught by my parents that when someone holds the door for you, you say thank you. When someone asks you how you're doing, you say, oh my goodness, thank you for asking. I was taught we live in a world where you thank people for doing things for you. And I do think we might be losing that a little bit. And I wonder if that has to do with everybody just gets everything they want all the time now, you know, but that's an easy answer. But I think that gratitude, when rooted in a relationship, can really change the way you treat one another, because it is a really special, beautiful thing to have somebody in your life who cares about you. Not everybody has that. I feel very lucky to have some really good friends and have an amazing set of parents, but not everybody has that. Not everybody has a family that loves them. Not everybody has friends. Not everybody has a romantic partner that loves them. And it is a really cool thing when you do. And so even if somebody passes away, like our quote of the day, it is important to hold that gratitude and that space for them for what they're doing in your life, because it can be easy to take it for granted, because you just assume, oh, everybody has friends. Everybody has parents who love them. Everybody can fall in love, but that's not necessarily the case. And I also think that gratitude can change your life, because I heard this sermon once, and I'm Christian, and even if you're not Christian, I think this is still a valuable thing to talk about. He was talking about how a lot of times when people pray, they're just asking for things. You're like, dear God, could I please pass my test this week? Could I please get the job offer, and can it be a lot of money? Could I please make it home for the holidays this year? And a lot of times you're just asking God for what you want. And a lot of people will tag on at the end of their prayer, in the Lord's name, amen, because it says in the Bible that if you ask for something in the Lord's name, it shall be granted. And the sermon was saying, what if you just tried starting off your prayer with gratitude? And so when you pray, whether that's daily, nightly, whatever schedule you pray on, if you pray, start off by thanking the Lord for everything you have in your life. And so even if you're not praying, I think that can be a nice daily practice, rather than being, oh my gosh, I wish I lived in a bigger apartment. Oh my gosh, I wish I made more money. Oh my goodness, I wish I had more friends. It can be nice to lead with that gratitude for what you do have. And I always think about the quote, at one point in my life, I prayed for this, or at one point in my life, I wanted this, and now I have it. When I had a bunch of roommates and I was living in a state different than all of my friends, and a coast different than my parents, I really, really wanted to have my own apartment, live closer to my parents, have a car again, live near some of my childhood friends, and now I have that. And so even when there are things I still want today, I have to remind myself, oh, those things you once wanted, you now have. And leading with that gratitude can help change your mindset. And my mom, sometimes my dad and I are a bit grumpy, and she can be grumpy too. If you're listening to this, Mom, you can be. Everybody can. But I would say that my father and I are probably on the grumpier scale than she is. And she will say, if we're all on the phone, she'll be like, hey, you and your dad, you're starting a gratitude journal today. You need to start writing it down. And I think she's onto something with that. I think it can change your life if you focus on that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is, it can be hard when someone does pass away, if we're talking about the grief side of that quote. It can be hard to be grateful to have had time with them when it doesn't feel like enough. I think about all the time that my grandmother would have loved to have one more Thanksgiving with us. She loved Thanksgiving because she loved to cook and provide for people and bring people together. She would do anything to have one more Thanksgiving with us. And other members of my family will try and coordinate doing Thanksgiving with them, and it won't work out, or holidays. And some of my family I haven't seen in probably 5 years. And in a span of 11 years, I've seen them once, which is crazy. But my grandmother, who passed away, she would do anything to get one more holiday. And there are people who are alive who we can't even get in the same room as us. And it can be hard, because sometimes I feel like we were robbed. More so, she was robbed. I can't keep thinking about myself here, of this life. And I think it can be easy when you're living to not be grateful for the fact that even you're just still alive. So many people didn't get to do this. So many people didn't get to live to the age that you were. There was this quote on the wall. I'm always saying there was this quote, so hope you like them. I had insomnia for a little bit, for like 7 months. It's so bad. If you've never had insomnia, I know it's kind of glamorized in media. It's so, so bad. But I was seeing a doctor because I was trying all the melatonin, the lavender, all the natural things, working out, and I could not get myself to sleep. And there was this quote in her office, and it was, "Getting old is a privilege, not all get to do it." And that was just a sign on the cabinet in her office that I would sit in. And I do think about that a lot, because there are a lot of people who never, ever, ever get past 10 or get past 20 or get to have a family or get to see their kids graduate. And I know it can be hard when you feel like you've been robbed of time to be grateful for what you did have, but I think that's the only way of moving forward and to carry on that legacy. So my uncle passed away when I was young, and we would always, on his birthday, because it was near Thanksgiving, we would release balloons and we would release his favorite colors. And I know it's probably not good for the atmosphere, but it's just little things like that do make a difference. And it's a little bit of gratitude. To be honest with you, if you're watching this video, you'll be able to see that the lighting's a little bit different. The second half of this episode, I am recording on a different day because the audio didn't take for whatever reason when I went to edit it. And I will tell you, I did cry the first time that I was filming this. Spoiler alert. And so the video is on my camera of me crying and speaking, but you can't hear any of it. And I filmed it late one night with my studio light on my face. And I don't remember exactly what I said. And I'm not feeling so emotional now, which is wonderful. Quite composed over here. But living is harder than I thought it would be. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a lot harder. I don't know if it's the stories we're told, and you know me, I'm handing you quotes left and right. My pockets are full of them. I can't imagine what happens with the words when they go in the washer and dryer, because I just got pockets and pockets of quotes and words that are getting all jumbled up. And maybe it's because I believed all the stories and the movies and the books I read, but life's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. When I was young, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, middle school is going to be really hard." And then I took all honors and I got all A's. And everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, high school is going to be really hard." I took all AP classes. I got straight A's. And then everyone was like, "College is going to be really hard." I double majored. I was in the honors college. I had a minor. I got a 3.98 GPA. Everyone's been telling me things are going to be really hard, and then I do it, and it's not that hard for me. And so I was just assuming that's how adulting was, because everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, college is the best time of your life. Being an adult is so hard." And I was like, okay, well, this is for the chumps, you know? But it turns out we're all chumps, because it is hard. And the grieving never really gets easier. There are still times when I just get this overwhelming urge to call my grandmother who's passed away and talk to her about things, because I used to lay on the stairs after school and talk to her on the phone. And I haven't been able to talk to her in a very long time, since I was in high school. And when she passed away, she wrote me, oh my God, I am gonna cry. Oh, I spoke it into existence. When she passed away, she wrote me this letter. I just remember sitting in my bed, reading that letter. And I was so upset when I got to the last page, because it felt like it was like the last time I was talking to her. Oh my God, I'm crying so hard. Reading that letter, it felt like that was the last time I was talking to her. You know, like that was the last thing I was going to hear her say. And I'm really grateful she wrote me that letter. And I think that's part of the reason why I like writing letters so much, on top of being a writer. And so that's part of the reason why I do it, why I write long birthday cards. I would rather you hand me a birthday card that's a scrap of lined paper with a long personal note than you buy a $15 one from CVS. It's really funny. Of course, I love the funny ones. Please, if you want to do that, great. Perhaps that's part of the reason why I love writing and all that, because I think it's a way we can hold on to people, their voices and their stories and their memory. And I think that can be how we pay tribute to those who have passed on. The highest tribute to the dead is not grief, but gratitude. It can be, for me, words and writing, and even the way you speak to people on a daily basis shows that you're grateful to them and all the people before you. But I may be wrong. My name is Caroline Mae Woodson. I promise I won't cry next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.